from number 2 and number 3 of the spring split, coming down to game 5, and it's all on the line.
It doesn't get better than this. You couldn't ask for more. And the team that wins here is the one that is truly superior on the day. The fans are ready, the teams are ready, and Cloud9 is starting things off strong, locking in the Rek'Sai.
Fans at home for Cloud9 going to be excited about that Rek'Sai pick. It has been so dominant so far in the series, but the instant Kindred answer here, a shakeup from TSM.
Kindred also has a lot of priority in the early game. You just have to be very cognizant of the all-in potential. If Rek'Sai has collapsing laners, the flash in, unburrow, Kindred is dead in the early game.
Kindred picked up, but the one thing that we're looking at least it's not Jarvan. Jarvan has had a very bad time so far this series, so even if Rek'Sai is the pop-off, Jarvan has been the pop-on. Not really the champion that you want to see so far.
Down, pop on.
So either way, not the direction you want to go. I'm glad to see TSM shake it up. I'm glad that they're picking something else here. They're also going to grab the Brom there for Smoothie in the bottom lane.
And the Zoe for the bubble pop here. Cloud9 gonna add an extra one. Zoe, possible poke damage, also gonna be locked in. Now, with a Brom there to try and block some of it, and the Kindred ultimate to help people if they do fall asleep, there are some outs.
Definitely are, and I'm going to be interested to see if TSM doesn't just grab another Ezreal. I mean, they've been so damn good with the pick throughout the split, as well as throughout this series. Zillion plus Kindred is a lot of shutdown, a lot of revive. This was the Cloud9 special last year with Blabber and Jensen, and now it is Bjergsen and Acadian that are taking it away from Cloud9.
And Bjergsen, one of the OG Zillion players here, so many games on it, wants to put it on display once again, willing to take up that supportive mantle for the team. Both of these mid laners have been able to fill whatever role they're asked of to complete a team composition.
And it does show the incredible amount of faith that Bjergsen has in the rest of his team. When it's game 5, when he is the star, when he has been carrying, he's saying, no, you guys can do this. I will be the backup.
And specifically in Acadian. First playoffs here, has an incredible game on Rek'Sai. Confidence must be high. Now they're putting him on the Kindred with the Zillion to back him up. But Cloud9, you cannot forget how quickly they dominated the first 2 games of this series, and they're the ones with the critical Rek'Sai here. Spencerian was amazing in games 1 and 2.
Well, as we go through the second half of the bans, it's Kale, Kennen, Gangplank, and Tristana, all removed from the pool, and if you're a TSM fan, you gotta be happy about seeing that Ezreal.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be Liquorice blind picking top lane here against Broken Blade. Broken Blade will have that final pick in what will be our final game. And it's going to be the Ornn as well as the Sivir. This is all about teamfight. This is about engage, about go forward and catch these members.
And this is about scaling here. Sivir plus Ornn items coming in for Cloud9. They also have a lot of options.
TSM, you've got one choice left to make. Broken Blade against this Ornn. What do they want to put him on? Do we want to see him on a carry? It looks like they're saying, we'll answer your team fighting, we'll answer your scaling with something that does both.
And this is such a tough matchup for the Ornn. You really do not have much kill threat at all on someone like a Vladimir. He can go Klepto, he can farm and scale up off of you. Not only are you going to have to itemize for MR, but then when you come to the team fight stage, there's double marksman dealing tremendous amounts of physical damage to you, so your itemization is difficult, your laning phase is difficult, and the 5v5 is monstrous, honestly, on both sides. TSM, if they can utilize the Kindred ult really well with the Zillion ult, you can layer the Zillion bombs on top of that as that expires. There's a lot of things that look like they're in their favor with those interactions.
Yeah, once again, you have to be so good with your timing of both Kindred and Zillion. So much of these champions' power is wrapped up in those critical abilities and coordinating them with your team. Both these champion selects looking like they both have very powerful options to lean on.
Yeah, both sides are looking solid. We're not coming out of this champion select saying, wow, this was a clear-cut victory for blue side or for red side. Both teams coming into game number 5 now, locked and loaded, ready to go. Winner goes to St. Louis, loser goes home as we prepare to enter the Rift for the final time here today. Cloud9 versus TSM. We've said it before, such a historic rivalry between these two squads. So many battles between them, and today's will surely go down as one of the good ones as we march into game number 5.
That's what the fans all came to see. And now it's going to come down to this. TSM to C9, 2-2. We break the tie now.
And as the base gates go down, you can hear the crowd get excited for it, the chants for both sides. And I'm reminded now of the words of a wise league sage of ages gone by named Skara, who once told me about how when you're going into the 5th and final game, if one team won the first 2 and one team won the second 2, the one with the second 2, the one with all that momentum, the advantage is so large in terms of the mental aspect of the game. You've got to have a very strong mental to be able to overcome that, reset yourself back to a neutral state, and be ready to win this game. And for Cloud9, that's what I'm looking at, to be able to put themselves in that same mental state they were in games 1 and 2, and come back in game number 5 strong.
I think that's where your coaching staff comes through as well, right? You know, to be able to help those players reset in between games, to calm them down, to build them back up and let them know that you still have the faith that they can close this out, that they can still execute just as they did in those earlier games.
Bjergsen, 14-4
Not
in his
bad.
LCS career on Zilean.
Not too shabby.
Looking to add another one to the win column here. But Zoe has been one of the best champions for C9, for Niski specifically.
See what he can do on this champion. Remember, he was the one having to play against it in the last game. The Zed pick did not work. Was never able to find the marks, never able to get the kills. But on the Zoe, you don't have to make those all-ins. You have to hang back. You fish for the picks with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and then deliver the damage from long range. Also should have push priority here early on. As we look at bottom side, Sneaky trying to trade here. Level 1.
Yeah, definitely a very different mindset in playing, you know, Zed versus the Zoe. And it's also interesting to look back up at this top lane, this battle between these two players, and it's not going to be the Klepto Vladimir as expected. It is Phase Rush, which is, you know, less about just farming and scaling up and more about being able to A, avoid ganks, and B, having that team fight power, because you're going to have more access when you proc that to be able to dive into the back line, to be able to stay on top of some of these elusive carries like the Zoe.
Yeah. Phase Rush makes Vladimir so powerful in the fight because your cooldowns are already so low. As long as you're constantly in range of those enemy players, you have Tides of Blood and Transfusion every couple of seconds, and it's immense levels of DPS.
Meanwhile, in the early game, Kindred heading straight bottom with the marks spawning here. Acadian will be able to start off this game the way you want to on your Kindred. Getting your Scuttle mark right out of the river, trading top and bottom here with the Rek'Sai.
And remember, the magic number is 4 on these marks. That's when you get the range bonus that makes you more relevant in the team fights. Normally, players like to try to acquire that around the 15 to 20-minute mark before the big 5v5s really start breaking out. We'll keep an eye on Acadian throughout this game to see how well he can do that, as Spencerian currently counter-jungles the chicken camp, taking away a few of Acadian's resources.
Able to clear out the ward as well. Pops the sweeper. Knows that he's been seen, so he will not take any extra aggressive movements, knowing that Acadian and the rest of TSM are aware of his position.
Bottom side, Cloud9 maintaining push priority over the wave, shoving this one into Sven and Smoothie. But again, this is Ezreal. This isn't something that you pick to win a lane with. It's not something that you want to smash early. This is a champion that's going to go for a tier, stack up, build up for late game, and be that carry that we've seen Sven be.
And honestly, it's the same style for Sivir, right? Sivir just wants to push you in. Sivir's not looking to actually dominate this lane. It is going to be lethal tempo, but you can proc so easily with the Ricochet or your Boomerang Blade, and then you have that additional attack speed to allow you to actually shove in those waves repeatedly.
And look at here, a very quick visit from the Kindred, killing that ward, forces Sneaky and Zeyzal to back off the minion waves. That visit from the jungler affords them a couple of CS, and everyone matters.
I'm also going to be really interested to see where Sneaky goes as far as build order. You know, will it actually be a rush towards IE, or is he going to play the kind of more utility defensive style of the Essence Reaver, which allows you to kind of have that infinite wave clear, never run out of mana, and also have ultimates up much more often for these 3 melee champions that are going to be wanting to charge it.
see how that plays out as the game moves forward. Right now, all the lanes pretty equal. When you look at the top side, you talk about how the matchup can be difficult for Vladimir into the Ornn. Well, it can be difficult for Ornn into Vladimir, excuse me, had that backwards. But Broken Blade early on Vlad, your cooldowns are not very friendly. It's going to take a while to be able to trade very well with this Ornn. Once he gets up to level 9 or so, he has that rank 5 transfusion. Then you'll start to see things become a little bit rougher. But by then, you can see Liquorice working towards what is likely a catalyst in his inventory, going to the Abyssal Mask. You can enchant that with the Ornn upgrade once he gets to level 13, and it makes it very hard for Vlad's damage to really stick.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it hard to actually just kill the guy, but at the same time, the longer this matchup goes, the less fun you generally have as Ornn. Because, yes, you can survive the poke, you can shrug it off if you're doing well, but you never will have enough damage in those later levels to actually ever threaten him. So Vlad is always going to have you under his turret, always going to be healing up whatever damage you put out, and you're constantly stuck on the back foot.
Yeah, the most fun for Ornn in this game is coming down to the team fights and landing a big ultimate to set up your Sivir, set up your Alistar engages here, looking for those 5-man rams.
See if the Ornn horn gets sounded in the right times this game. We've definitely seen that be a team fight changer in many games in the past. It's been what's been the identity of the champion, really. That's what a big Ornn play is, making that huge team fight impact. As Vin will shift out of the way there of the pizza. That's not the flavor he wanted. Had some pineapples or something on it. As he'll continue to farm up underneath the turret. 51-51. CS dead even between these guys.
It's always funny to me seeing Sneaky on this skin, because now I just think of it as this.
It is
skin.
the Sneaky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is him.
Only
as a
player to get his own skin without winning a world championship.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big brain right there.
Yeah.
Small brain, win worlds. Big brain, pizza delivery Sivir. Spencerian's in the enemy jungle, though. Bjergsen walks up to drop a ward. Is going to be knocked up into the air. A lot of damage coming out. Sleepy Trouble Bubble makes its way onto him.
Will they wait it out?
They're trying to make sure they don't proc that ulti. They don't want to give him the heal. They're going to make him use his flash and send him home.
Definitely a big one there with no flash left on the mid lane. Gonna have to play a little bit more carefully. He does have teleport as well. Doesn't complete the recall. Doesn't want to have to use the teleport quite yet. Tugging on his corrupting potion, looking to rely on his sustain.
And you can see he's gone kind of a bit more defensive build instead of the tier. It is the catalyst to have a bit more health, a little bit more of a buffer to survive any potential Zoe burst.
Again, in the early game, Rek'Sai going all in, flash knockup on a Kindred, you will die so quickly with collapsing lanes. And they've even brought out Zeyzal here, roaming after the first recall from the bottom lane on the Alistar to help out with this control on top side.
And especially now, with that level advantage for Sven, you never want to fight that Rek'Sai if he is 6 and you are 5. You've got to be very, very careful about that. And we'll see if C9 can make anything of the expended ultimate and flash from Bjergsen. He is TP'd back to lane, and that would be somewhere you'd love to get a kill.
Should we shorten his name to Karin or something instead, since there's also a Sven in this game?
It does make it kind of tricky. I have noticed that a couple of times myself, but I think we're going to have to just make do for now, gentlemen. As we can see, Smoothie rotating towards the mid lane. He saw that his lane opponent had decided to rotate elsewhere on the map. He's going to follow suit. Wards being placed down here by both sides as Niski will clear out that control ward. Nobody from TSM really available to contest that one. And that's one of the just facets of life when you're playing against Zoe. Contesting vision is so difficult because there could always be a Sleepy Trouble Bubble coming your way. And you have to be so respectful of it because one skill shot can mean death.
You can see both teams being incredibly cautious. The room here has even gone deathly silent with all the anticipation put on this game number 5. Now bottom lane is where the focus is, and C9 are making one of the first super aggressive moves, moving in to steal this blue buff with their bottom lane push.
Niski will get it with the Paddle Star. Handing that buff off to your own mid laner means you can go grab yours for yourself, or just keep it up a little bit longer and give Niski doubles later on. See Liquorice going in top side here onto Broken Blade. Although he doesn't get the hit on the Brittle, he does force out the pool. That's going to leave Broken Blade in a spot where he's on the losing end of a trade. Liquorice still looking to go in, fight this even further. The Broken Blade dropping down the Hemo Plague will keep himself in good shape.
Yeah, Liquorice just trying to push him out. Utilizing that ultimate semi for kind of just wave clear, honestly. You know, you're not really expecting to be able to take down Broken Blade, but you do make it a trade of ultimates, which does allow for the potential of a jungler gank to be more effective.
Yeah, you fight over every 30 seconds as Ornn in the top side right now, and that allows him to move down, be a little bit more cautious.
Checking in on the gold. It is Cloud9 building themselves up an early advantage here. You can see pretty big CS leads in both the jungle and the mid lane for this squad. A little bit of a lead here bottom side, which we shored up as Sven farms it, but Really, the only lane TSM is ahead in is that top side, as we expected the Vladimir to be up against the Ornn. Range versus melee typically tells that tale. First Drake is Mountain, which is pretty juicy for either one of these squads.
And this early in the game, honestly, these types of goal differences don't really mean anything. It's all about your item completions. When you're getting your base off. Getting a base and actually getting an item purchase means so much more than, you know, a few CS in lead or in lane.
And you can see that C9 really wants to take that dragon. There are 4 pink wards across the bottom river, you know, setting up for a potential dragon take, right? They have full vision control in this area. They are the ones who should be the first to that play. With Scuttle plus 4 pinks, it's very clear that's the objective.
And also, just layering this river with their own true sight allows the roam from Zeyzal. When you have a Sivir lane, focus on pushing super hard. So they push the lane super hard and then threaten with a possible Alistar with Ignite gank towards mid lane. Every time you can see Zeyzal here, he walks up into the fog of war, and then TSM have to be a bit worried about his whereabouts.
And with that push on top side, this should just be an easy Herald. Vladimir's under his turret, Zoe is pushing in mid lane, so this is not something that they can actually contest. And we've also had another question answered, as it is pickaxe plus longsword, which should be Essence Reaver for Sneaky. He's going that more kind of utility-based style.
And remember, as the Rift Herald is picked up early, the thing you always want to see is for a team to deploy that before 14 minutes. Rift Herald's charge, guaranteed to take off at least 2 plates from a turret as long as there are still 2 there. Broken Blade now might find himself in a bad spot. Drops the Hemo Plague down. Pool comes out, looking to stay alive, and they'll be happy just taking that.
Yep, he's looking to proc the phase rush, then you can run out afterwards with the pool. Rift Herald is activated, and they're going to give money on top side with Zeyzal rotating as well.
Yeah, they may actually just try to finish off this turret completely or even go for a dive. This is no ultimate on Vladimir. We'll see what the response is going to be. Zeyzal, I don't know if he's been spotted yet. I don't think he has.
Meanwhile, Niski's going to be collapsed on by 3 here in the mid lane. Tries to get himself away. Glacial Fissure not going to find the mark. Smoothie going to be tanking up the turret. Niski getting himself away. He'll stay alive. Broken Blade doing the same in the top side as the game gets paused.
That sidestep from Niski on the Brom ultimate, keeping him alive, allowing him to grab another flash with that Spell Thief. That was critical, as both teams making 3-man attacks on opposite places in the map. I'll let you guys know as soon as we find out what this pause is about, but hopefully we'll be back into the action quick.
Yeah, that mid lane looked really, really dicey there for a second for Niski. Although he sidestepped out of the way of the Glacial Fissure, he was still tagged up by the Brom passive, made things look like he could very easily go down there, but nice, quick feet, getting himself out of the way of that Brom ult really kept him safe there. 113 farm on this guy compared to the 104 on Bjergsen, maintaining that ever so slight lead he has. And remember, also still has the stopwatch. So even if he did get thrown up into the air, unless he dies in the knockup, you also have that for outplay potential.
Certainly do, and it is going to be an audio investigation. Again, TSM having some issues there. Hopefully will be a quick fix this time around, and we'll be able to jump into this final game 5 here. Both teams so evenly matched in these early levels. You know, no real differences to separate the 2 teams.
And as Kobe was talking about, saying, yeah, we've got a couple hundred gold difference between the teams, yada, yada, that doesn't care. What we're actually looking at is item completion. So that's what I really want to check in on now that we have the pause and we have a second to stand back and sort of look at it. You've got your Essence Reaver done for Sivir. Both mid laners still fumbling around with the item parts. You've got the Ezreal with the Mana Moon, not upgraded to the Nirvana, of course, with the Sheen also in inventory. Top side, Vladimir goes for the CDR Garage Sale. That's pretty common on Vlad. It also means your first item will be delayed, though, and you can see Ornn working towards that Abyssal Mask. Once he has that, of course, you have a slight edge over the Vlad in terms of, I've got a completed item, you don't.
Yeah, both junglers kind of on par as well, with maybe a slight advantage for Kindred kind of later into the game, getting a lot of auto attack threat down for the team, a lot of utility out of the ultimates. Rek'Sai's general success is a lot focused on the early game. That's kind of why the analyst desk kept pointing to this champion, because so much of this series has been determined by junglers in the early game.
It really has, but I mean, as you say, if you can absorb that pressure as a Kindred, you know, that's always a situation where you're going to feel so good going into those, 20, 30-minute team fights. You're saying, hey, you're not going to get one comboed anymore. You have a zillion behind you. You have the safety of the Lamb's Respite. And there's a lot of ways to be able to absorb and then kind of turn around those sort of team fights. So despite the kind of small disadvantages that Acadian has as far as gold goes in these early levels, not going to be too concerned about that.
And talking about Lamb's Respite, the person I'm going to be watching very closely in team fights is Zeyzal, because that is the one member of Cloud9 who has the ability to knock someone out of the Kindred ultimate. Whenever that champion is picked, you always want to look at the enemy composition and say, all right, who has displacement? Who can mess up the fact that Kindred throws this down on a limited zone, and if you get knocked out, they can still kill you. I want to see if Zeyzal gets any headbutts out of those Lamb's Respites as the team fights go on and manages to pick up any critical kills that way.
Also, you have the opportunity to try and interrupt those abilities that have such critical timing. If you get a combo onto a Kindred, try and kill them from 100%. A combo onto a Zillion so they can't get their ultimates off when someone else is about to get focused down. These sorts of things really put the highlight on positioning for these team fights to try and find those angles.
It'll be interesting to see as a result, will QSSs be forced out on guys like Bjergsen and Acadian, because that Zoe sleep, if you get hit with that, it could just be a full to 0 dead. We are getting ready checks now, as the players should be shortly getting ready to get back in the game here.
Also highlights, reliance on your teammates. The Kindred will need the Zillion will need the Kindred to save each other.
Yeah, that's one thing you got to look at with these guys who are meant to bring everybody back to life. It's not just about keeping Vlad and keeping Ezreal safe, but these guys are very vulnerable themselves. Zillion and Kindred, not exactly tanky champions. Not going to be building any ways to stay alive aside from those critical R buttons. So that timing, if it's not there, TSM's in trouble.
I would say Cloud9 have a lot of hard engage options as well. That makes the possibility of bringing the Ornn, Rek'Sai, and Alistar into an offensive position very, very difficult to deal with. That is pretty much guaranteed hard engagement when they choose an opportunity.
Yeah, and it's going to mean that the TSM communication has to be on point, right? The reactions, the communication. It's easy to say, you can just say, okay, well, Kindred should just ult every time. But the fights can be more complex than that. People can be getting CC'd, and you have to have very clear comms of who is going to do what, when, and in which order. Because summoner spells, ultimates cannot be overlapped in such a way that it's going to be detrimental to the team. So we'll see how well TSM is going to be able to do that. But for now, we are in this situation where top lane tower is being assailed here by Cloud9, and Nisqy has been pushed out of mid.
And you're talking about CC, Azale, and I think that's a very important thing to bring up, because when you look at the composition from the side of TSM, hard CC is very limited here. You've got none on Vlad, you have none on Kindred, you have none on Ezreal. Zillion has a very conditional one in strapping 2 bombs to the same person, and Brom can get a knock-up through his ultimate, or again, a conditional one of stacking up 4 auto attacks onto one person. When you compare that to what's on the enemy team with a Zoe, an Alistar, an Ornn, and a Rek'Sai, very different stories being told. Cloud9 can disengage more easily if someone is caught out, along with the fact that, as you already mentioned, they have more engage of their own. That just makes things that much scarier and puts much more of a burden of execution onto TSM.
Yeah, it really does. And C9 have the ability to also just kind of fish for poke with the Zoe to try to pick their moment for when they're actually going to engage. And did Spencerian spill again?
How does this always happen?
Is it a good sign or a bad sign for Cloud9? That's what we really need to figure out.
Honestly, they win a lot when he spills.
All right, well, while Spencerian takes care of the spill, we're going to go ahead, toss things back to the analyst desk to get their thoughts.
My thoughts are great. They're going to win now. There's Spencerian spill.
I was going to talk about champ select and the game state and all that, but now I feel like we got to talk about Spencerian.
What kind of cup was he using? Was it the sippy cup again that they gave to him to protect from
Even
himself?
more reason we need
lids.
LCS branded
Where
sippy
are our
cups.
lids? There are lids on the cup.
No, they gave
have
new
lids.
cups to pros like last year to protect from this, and Sven spilled with them twice.
It's impressive,
Since then.
to say the least. But in all seriousness, because this is a Game 5 for a berth into the finals in St. Louis, I think we should talk about this game. We had a lot of questions about champion select and side selection for Cloud9. They elected to go to blue side. The first team to do that with side selection. Boom. First pick, Rek'Sai. Crumbs, you the happiest man in the world?
Not quite.
Oh!
I am happy because Jarvan wasn't picked, not because of the Rek'Sai.
All right.
I love that they go with the Rek'Sai first pick, but TSM had a sick answer. Kindred and Brom are really strong here. The Kindred versus Rek'Sai matchup, you want to not meet every single time because Rek'Sai can jump you and surprise you, but you are going to be able to scale into the game really well, and you build a really nice composition.
I'm sorry to laugh in the middle of your point, but we have a more important replay that we need to get to right this instance. No, it was not a spill. He exploded one of his hand warmers all over himself on the desk. What are you doing? Oh, there it was. You saw the gray in that moment.
All right, in his
He was trying to
defense-
activate
All
the
right,
heat.
so
In his defense, I've done that too, where you smack
I owe
it
Sven
into
an
the-
apology.
you don't need to
It's not the
smack
sippy
it.
cup spill.
You don't
Right.
need to smack it. You just.
But it's
you
so fun.
shake
No.
it.
He's not doing it just for like warmth. He's just doing it for fun.
But we're in uncharted
when you have something
territory
in your
now.
hand, you kind of just like
Right.
fiddle with it.
It's inside your keyboard. You can't clean that.
I don't know what this means now.
They
for
have
the series.
spares key.
All right, back to our conversation, though. You talk about the Rek'Sai Kindred matchup. Kindred wanting to avoid that Rek'Sai, at least in the early portions of the game.
Yeah, and it makes for a composition that TSM has run a lot of times before. You saw it on the screen, Zillion, 14-4 for Bjergsen. So they're going to feel great that they have this comp in a game 5, especially when you have Vlad and the Ezreal that you were saying was amazing for Sven as well. So I think TSM is completely in their comfort zone.
This is one of those drafts for C9 where you look at it and you're like, man, I like all those champs together. And then you look at what you're playing it into and you're like, never mind. Because you have the Brom for the Ornn, you have Kindred and Zillion ultimates to go on whoever you hard engage onto. Because this is everyone charge in there with Sivir ult, hard engage. You have multiple revives or death nullification. And then on top of that, the targets that you are going for are very slippery. Vlad can go underneath a lot of that kind of engage. Same with Ezreal being able to arcane shift out. So it's actually, while you have an easy engage comp, the people you're engaging on are tough.
I will say, though, the Zoe pick can do so much work
Yes,
here.
the poke is where it
If
is.
you can get a poke onto the Kindred, you can one-shot her. Same thing with Zillion. You can force an ultimate on somebody really quickly. So it's going to be up to Niski, but it's all execution, and that's hard.
I actually think that both teams are happy with their comp. When you have a Sivir, Alistar, Rek'Sai, or you have 3 tanks that sit in front of your Sivir, that Sivir is happy. And the other side, you have a Zillion, Kindred, Ezreal, so you're also happy. I think it's just going to come down to whoever plays these fights better, right? Yes, you can say that they have double revive on the Zillion, Kindred, but they have no tanks really, right? Yes, they can revive, but that's not tanky stats, that's just health, which C9 has a lot of tanky stats on them. So it's just going to be like them battling it out for a 35-second punch warrior.
Yeah, long fights for sure.
Win conditions do exist for both teams, so let's kind of talk about those and how they'll achieve them. In the current game state, just cresting that 10-minute mark, we have Cloud9 in position to take an early gold lead here, with Niski crucially avoiding that death in the mid lane while the rest of the team is making plays on the top side.
I mean,
that's happening.
we were all talking. I was going to say, this is one of those games where I don't think the scaling is super clearly in one team's favor. You talk about the better front line on the side of C9, plus the Sivir hyperscaling, plus Ornn being able to craft masterwork items means that their late game's super good. And so whoever gets a gold lead when you have 2 similar team fight comps, it will still be an execution-based fight, but having the extra gold advantage in your favor, makes it that much easier. So, yeah, you're still going to need a really clean engage, but it doesn't need to be quite as clean if you have a 2-3K gold lead come mid-game.
Right, and just with the macro of this game is going to be really important about, what fights they choose to take, because there's going to be different times during this game where TSM will want to fight or C9 will want to fight, and you shouldn't take every single fight that is available to you, which happens to a lot of teams. You have to find which ones are worthwhile to fight for, and if you can win those ones. And I hope that they don't just throw themselves at each other.
Well, I think they need to land a poke beforehand. In
Right.
all of these fights, both teams, Zoe needs to connect in a stun, most likely. Then the Alistar would follow up with the Ornn, and that's how you get the fight. Same thing with TSM. Ezreal lands some poke, you find a bomb, or you have the Vlad flank with a Zillion ultimate, and then you start the fight that way. But without the poke coming in beforehand, those battles are going to be very difficult, so skill shot accuracy will come into play.
I actually don't like Alistar starting the fight. I'd rather have the Rek'Sai or the Ornn start the fight, and Alistar to save his punt, to punt someone out of the Kindred ulti. So if you see an Alistar WQ in, by the time his headbutt's back up again, the Kindred ulti will be already over. Save your headbutt, let someone else engage, and just punt someone out of the fight. That'd be a game-winning play if he's able to do
that's
that.
why it's so difficult for TSM's comp, though, or excuse me, C9's comp, because if you want to start with Ornn, well, Brom blocks that. You want to punt someone out, well, Zillion might be able to get to that target and ult them. So it's such a, we talk about counterplay in League of Legends a lot. This is one where the counterplay is super duper important. Are you tracking the cooldowns of your opponent properly? Can you force them out and bait them to drop that Brom shield on a Zoe Q? Because if you can do that, then only then can the Ornn start the fight. If you don't bait out the Brom shield, Ornn cannot start, and you might need the Alistar.
Right, and this entire time you have to be worried about the Vladimir flank too. If he gets on top of your Sivir and your Zoe, they're not going to have a good time.
They can't peel themselves.
Ezreal Zillion are not afraid of anyone really, so it's just you have so many things to keep track of against TSM's team. That's going to be hard for C9 to execute it, but they definitely have the tools to do it.
Not to discount the importance of each individual player on that stage and how they'll lend themselves to this game. I do want to ask you guys, as you've kind of mentioned here, it might come down to specific counterplay or specific players in general. For each team, where is that winning moment coming from? Which player, right? In this game 5, where does the pressure fall? Whose shoulders right now are feeling the heaviest?
Well, I think the shoulders feel the heaviest in the ultimates that are very game-changing. So these Kindred ulti and Zilean ulti are going to be huge. Every time these champions are played, they never have a perfect game where all their ultimates are amazing. So a lot of the times they mess up. Making sure that those errors are minimized is going to be huge because we've seen it in the Echo Fox series. The Kindred ults are not perfectly timed, and it might even hurt your team and help the other one. So those 2 ultimates for TSM, whereas on Cloud9, if Liquorice can find a way to get an ult past Brom, that's going to be huge.
Right. I think for TSM, actually, I'm going to have my eyes on Broken Blade.
Yeah.
His ultimate will be able to change the tides of the battle. And if he gets a good one off, he has so many different opportunities to take these fights too, right? Say they lose a fight, whatever, they're still in the game. He just needs to find that one engage where it's big enough to get that objective and turn the entirety of the battle.
Right, like you're saying, if Broken Blade can kill Sneaky at the start of a fight, it almost doesn't matter about the Brom and the Ornn and the Kindred and the Zilean because you have so many other damage threats, and they realistically have 2. And so if you can knock one of them out right away, you probably win that fight. On the flip side, I think Niski is super important, like we're saying, for all the reasons about baiting other skill shots out or poking the Kindred out, or there's so many key things for Niski to do in this game that he can really influence a fight before it even happens.
Fair enough. Taking a look at Game 5s, we saw just a moment ago Spencerian and Liquorice kind of chatting back and forth. This is a substantial amount of downtime here in a 5th and final game. So as we have 2 former pros on the desk, I want to talk about, what's going on that stage right now from a couple different perspectives. Number one, just the idea of keeping that memory of game state, keeping that memory of what exactly is going on the map right now so that when you hit that unpause button, you can jump right back in it without missing a beat.
Yeah, well, you always have the map, so you can press tab, and you essentially do assess where's the gold at, where's everyone going to be spiking at, how much is the CS mattering right now, and what objectives do we want to fight for, and what objectives do they want to fight for. So you make sure that you understand all the information that's on the table first, and then you start saying, okay, this second dragon or this objective is not something we want. If we're giving this up, what can we do instead? What can we trade? And you start crafting a plan, and if you can, you start crafting a few plans that make sure that whatever happens, you have run by that scenario.
Right, last game you saw that immediately after the pause, they bum rushed that Baron. I don't agree with that call, but they made a decision when they went forward. Here they have the top lane pushing. I don't think there's any giant massive play they can do since there's no objective on the map, but they're probably just going to talk to each other, write down in chat flash hammers and what else they would want to do. But this is a super long pause. It's hard to stay in the game when you've been out of the game for 10 minutes. You're like, what was I doing? I don't remember what I was doing.
Usually, if I was Jeon, I would just ask, all right, where can I gank? And then they just run me down. Oh, this guy doesn't have flash. This could be an easy gank. It's like, I can't do it. Can we do it?
It's kind of past
Can we
ganking
do it
time
with 2
now,
people?
though.
No,
Game phase is almost over. It's like 12-ish. No, it's like
well, 4-man, right? Like, how can you 4-man?
Right.
Like, how can you flank? Like, how can you set these plays up? And then with the information that your team tells you, then you can start saying, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this instead. And you start just talking to each other that way.
And that's all the mental aspect. There's the more emotional aspect too. Like I have anxiety, like watching this game, a little bit of a pit in your stomach.
Right.
And, like a player is probably amplified that. I can't even imagine. Like, well, you're just sitting there stewing on, you want to focus on the game, but probably thoughts of your season, how things have gone, the finals, all these things creep in a little bit.
Did that ever happen to you?
I wouldn't really necessarily think about the season, but more what's happening immediately. I don't experience anxiety when I play the game personally, so I don't know
confident.
how people
No, you
deal
just
with
get
it.
you forget.
wish
You're
I
just
had
like
that.
you're in the screen only. Right?
I'm in plat, and I'm like, freaking out.
You're in the zone, but you get kicked out of the zone. So then you start thinking about what happened in the previous game. You're like, crap,
dude,
I'm going to get blamed for that later.
I'm
super good.
Starting about other
I'm
things.
looking at the signs at the crowds, like, oh, how many fans are here? Oh, they're all.
Man, that is a
They're all
sign.
TSM fans, and then you're like, oh, no.
No, dude, I'm serious. There was a tournament, one of the best matches I had. It was because a fan said, pick Lee Sin 3 times. I was like, all right, well, we didn't prepare a draft. I'll just follow what the fan sign said, and we won. So listening to the fans.
You at home have the power.
Don't follow that advice, other pro players, but, sometimes people
Lee was good
pick
at the
champions
time.
out of nowhere. As an example of that, during IM San Jose, we're in Champions Deck, and Meteos just asked me a question, hey, how do you feel about Corki mid? I haven't played that in forever, nor was it really seen. I was like, that sounds like a fun champion to play.
Dude.
So we picked Corki, and we actually won the
The
tournament.
golden years.
Yeah. It was back in 2015. Just try this out, see how it goes for you. And it worked out. So
So, a small update. We still have engineers and people working on the tech issues that are taking place on stage at the moment. And so, again, while the players are on stage, headsets on, we're still. Oh, ready checks are going through as we speak. And with that, I believe we're going to toss it back out to the casters to get us into game.
Audio issues should be resolved. Ladies and gentlemen, we are heading back onto Summoner's Rift here in just a moment. To set the stage, in case you forgot, it's top lane tier 1 under siege as Cloud9 will work to take this one down. You can see Shelly helping him out there, looking to get that turret first blood. It'll bring the gold lead up pretty substantially. Should be about 2,500 after this one drops, and there it is.
All right, opening up the map here. Cloud9 take down the first turret on top side. Gonna get a reset off here with Liquorice going for the recall too. Now they can turn their eyes towards that bottom side where they had so many control wards, and the Mountain Drake still available.
Some of those have been cleared out by TSM, so we'll see if they're going to be able to actually try to contest this, or when C9 wants to try to make the move to pull the trigger on this dragon. Sneaky should be able to constantly have Sven under his turret with that Essence Reaver. He's never going to run out of mana to push him in.
What you want to do is keep up your pressure. Since you gain some tempo, people like to refer to it on top side, by pushing the minion wave up to the secondary turret, they freed up Liquorice. So you want to use that extra power that you have while Vladimir is farming on the top side. C9 do just that. They call everyone in to the dragon, starting up that Mountain Drake for themselves. And Acadian's around, but it's going to be too dangerous to try and get in.
Yeah.
Well, or is it?
Looks like TSM is not going to take this one lying down. It'll be a contest of smites here for the Mountain Drake, as Zazel's going to be going in, looking to knock these guys up into the air. Lamb's Respite immediately coming down. Acadian taken very low. Going to be Zilean ulted now as well. Cloud9 looking to get themselves away. Broken Blade into the back lines, looking to make the damage happen onto Niski, as Sneaky has to get himself away. TSM launching their counterattack. Liquorice comes in over the wall. It's first blood over to Bjergsen, but now TSM has lost their AD carry. They're going to lose their support. They've lost their jungler, and Cloud9 will win the fight.
It's 2 dead on both sides. Now 3 for TSM. And it's Cloud9 left around the dragon. They've chased them off. What a fight.
Yeah, but they're not going to have enough members alive to actually even take the dragon, so it's just +1 kill for C9. TSM does come away with first blood, so honestly a very even exchange as far as the gold goes.
Teleport's coming through to get right back into lane, trying not to drop any minions. And let's take a look at how it started. Now, one of the biggest things for me is Sneaky on the bottom of your screen is sectioned off from C9. Zazel goes for the flash engage. Big knock up here. The Kindred ultimate going down ensures that no one's going to get bursted, but during that time you try and get the other members low. Then the Zilean ultimate comes through for after that expires, and we have 2 different team fights here. Broken Blade on the top side of your map with the Vladimir, pushing off those 2 members, whereas Sneaky and Zazel trying to run away on the bottom side.
And as the dragon was not taken, that means everybody's coming back to the scene of the crime here for round number 2. Scuttlecrab spawning down here is TSM's to take. Acadian will make sure they grab that one, and TSM will now start the objective.
Liquorice does still have his teleport. Broken Blade used his last time. TSM starting it off, and it looks like they're going to leash here, but teleport completes in the mid lane.
Liquorice has the ultimate here, ready to go. Checking in on ulti cooldowns. Zazel's is not ready. That is a big reason to not want to fight yet for the side of Cloud9. Acadian, Lamb's Respite, also not ready to go here yet, as Cloud9 decide to push towards mid lane.
Yeah, they had the inner track on this mid lane, so getting a lot of damage down on that turret, which is now going to buy them the time to walk back to that dragon if they want to do so.
TSM, they're using Bjergsen's passive to bring Broken Blade up to level 11, so he's got the level 2 Hemo Plague now for the team fight if it breaks out. Cloud9 continuing to apply the pressure here, but they don't want to step up too far. They don't want to give TSM the opportunity to start a fight on their terms. You can see here a big discrepancy this game in terms of turret plates taken. TSM not getting a single one, while Cloud9 gets almost 1,000 gold from their early efforts.
Yeah, and TSM is going to have to bail out. They're sending Acadian up to get a mark off of the Gromp, but I do think this is the right decision. It's just so incredibly hard to walk into Bog against a Zoe, and C9 had established that vision control in that side lane brush. Nissis is constantly poking over. If you try to run into him, it's way too easy to land asleep.
All right, meanwhile, on the bottom side, Sneaky does get up to the turret, pushing that wave all the way in. So much respect being played by here, the TSM bottom side. But all that was with Zazel recalling in their top side jungle. So a lot of, unaware actions being taken.
So checking in now, you can see every teleport on the map, which by the way is 5 this game. A lot of teleports available this time around, but none of them available right now.
All the cooldowns were expended over the course of these past couple of fights. And we're going to see who can make the next move. You can see a little bit of defensive vision placed down by TSM here on the bottom side in their own jungle, making sure they maintain control over that area as Cloud9 will try to continue to supply some wards of their own around this bottom half of the river.
And we'll see where they want to try to strike next. As Rift Hill is off the table, the Dragon is gone for quite a few minutes now, and it just seems to be about the non-stop push here for Cloud9. TSM certainly with much worse wave clear in these early levels, and C9 is using it to just try to knock down these turrets and constantly pressure. You can see the mid lane turret is very low, top lane turret is gone, bot lane turret gonna fall here now. Cloud9 gonna look to knock down all these outers.
Number 2 in the dirt. TSM running forward, seeing if maybe they can make something happen here. We're gonna see. Not today, not today.
And as we highlighted, with these towers going down, opens up the map for these possible picks here. Zoe looking for Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Could definitely draw out some cooldowns and break up those combinations from TSM.
Mid lane gonna be cleared out there by Bjergsen. As top side, Liquorice is gonna continue shoving this wave out. Has the Sheen in inventory. Tells me he's going for the Iceborne Gauntlet. Means he's gonna have some extra damage potential here in these fights. Doesn't want to be just purely that tank. Needs to be able to supply some damage when somebody goes on top of him.
And also going to be able to have a ton of CDR, right? You know, the utility of the additional slows, but also having that Ornn ultimate up as much as possible is so critical. It's really about that cooldown for this champion.
Everything pinpointing here on the last outer turret standing for TSM. That mid lane turret is their defense. Everyone kind of congregating, trying to defend that wave after wave. That's going to be the next pressure point there for Cloud9. They send Sneaky back to bottom, try and clear it quickly.
Sneaky, of course, will have no struggle with that, considering, as you already mentioned, the Essence Reaver means never running out of mana. He can Ricochet and Boomerang Blade forever, but Acadian in the bottom side might be able to set up some kind of a move here. Nice Trouble Bubble coming out, as Sneaky has to go on the hunt to get himself away from the potential TSM collapse. He will stay safe with Zeyzal nearby and clear out these waves.
Yep, extra speed gets Zeyzal right in there. Spencerian now kind of running down the river as C9 with all the outer turrets already destroyed here. They have so much easier time collapsing on TSM.
Full sleep hits.
Acadian will be put to sleep here. Will the damage come in? Zeyzal looking to go in, but he won't be able to find the knockup. Instead, he could be in some trouble. Liquorice coming around from behind. The Ornn Horn will find the mark, but Bjergsen's able to kill Zeyzal at the very start of the fight. Acadian's going to be going to sleep here yet again. He will be taken down. Spencerian having to flash away. 1 for 1. Niski on the front line having to flash out. Broken Blade from behind. The flank comes in, and Cloud9 is on the run. Liquorice has to flash away, but Broken Blade is in hot pursuit. Niski grabs a kill into Sven, and he'll get back out over the wall.
And he went to go grab his flash and uses that flash to escape with his life. There's a reason Cloud9 put so much priority on getting him Zoe. What a fight. I thought that was TSM favored with Broken Blade's teleport coming in on the Vladimir. But Niski pulls out the magic.
That was insane from Niski taking down Sven there. And the initial play, as you called out, was called because there's no turret available. They go in, they try to go forward. They got the Zillion ult. They're trying to wait it out, but they get the Kindred ult. He has stepped back far enough so it was not on top of Zeyzal. Zeyzal does go down, but then the trade comes in from Acadian, and this is where you start to think, okay, it could be TSM's fight as Broken Blade joins.
Yeah, he flanks in here with Vladimir, splits the whole team up. A bunch of flashes used there trying to escape. Niski gets back over the wall, second part of his ultimate, has the paddle star, and then he's able to go in, finds that flash on the corner of the wall, gets back out.
Woo! That's a tilter.
Everyone
able to jump in like that and hit the damage.
I had full health.
I feel like that is everyone's reaction to that kind of a situation, but the Zoe jumping in and getting that pick is huge here. Bottom side, it's Liquorice and Broken Blade getting into a 1v1, but it will not be a 1v1 here for long. Ultimate's going to be called in, but it cannot be called back. Acadian grabs the kill onto Liquorice. It's going to be 1-0 TSM. They've got all 5 members here. The Drake is now spawning. Liquorice will try to buy some time, firing off those trouble bubbles, but they will not connect.
Big unbreakable there from Smoothie, making sure no reactivation of the Ornn ultimate was available. Now Liquorice is down. Niski, though, landing some poke.
More of these bubbles constantly being a thorn in the side of TSM, but Niski's now in some trouble. Glacial Fissure's able to find the mark onto him. Broken Blade going to now be dropping very low himself, getting away with the pool, nearly going to be taken down. A good save from Bjergsen.
Yeah, that was a nice Zillion ultimate. TSM should still get this dragon. They do. And it looked like Sneaky actually picked up the bomb with the spell shield on stopwatch Niski to save his life. and immune that. We'll have to see that one more time in the replay, but that was very close to multiple members going down. TSM make the proactive play, taking down Orin, and it does get them the Dragon.
Very big pick there from TSM. Now they're rotating Sven on the Ezreal up to the top side to match Sneaky here, who teleports in.
Sneaky also with his second item now completed. Rapid fire cannon makes it easier to fire off those single auto attacks in these team fights. Get some more damage down onto these guys if he's not able to close the distance all the way in because he has to respect that Vlad so heavily. They'll both just continue farming up here. You can see the fully evolved Muramana for the side of Sven, and TSM means he's going to be no slouch in these fights either.
I'd like to see Sneaky grab an Executioner's Calling now. I do think it is so critical to have against Vladimir in these team fights, and Sivir bounces it around onto all these members so effectively. Double marksmen who are very likely going to be having some lifesteal in their kit, be it from Legend Bloodline or itemization. It's going to be super effective.
Yep. Kindred ultimate, even when that does come down, counts as a heal as well. Let's see here, though. Niski has the bomb on his head, has to use his Zhonya's.
Yeah,
Spencerian goes with their combo. Sneaky's able to go in there. Bomb defusal Sneaky will be the next cosplay.
Yeah, that was actually so smart from Sneaky. The heads up thinking there to grab that bomb with the spell shield, potentially saving Niski from just dying. Not sure if it would have quite had the damage threshold, but it would have been really close.
Cloud9, they are not deterred though. This team's still looking to fight over just about anything they can find to fight for. Wanted to step up for that red buff, will be denied it. Acadian secures it. Smoothie loses half his HP there to the paddle star over the wall. Sleepy Trouble Bubble won't find Bjergsen.
And I've loved just seeing the player reactions to these plays. You can see how focused they are. There's just no laughing. There's no games here. It's game 5 in the playoffs. They are so intensely focused on closing this series out on both sides.
Fun is for later. This is what determines whether or not you continue towards St. Louis. This gives you a shot to win the entire split.
Well, the next step on your list then has to be controlling vision around Baron. We keep highlighting the Zoe, the hard engage on the side of C9. There's a lot of possibility for picks. And the first step in getting picks is controlling vision.
And that is why they have these pings in the area, but they're looking for Niski.
Wow, Niski is going to be the target and shut down instantly by the side of TSM. Acadian grabs the kill credit on that one, and Liquorice will be number 2. TSM with 2 huge kills.
They break this one wide open. TSM now with control of Summoner's Rift. They're going to clear out the mid wave, and now they're moving up the river towards Baron.
Yeah, they could potentially start the Baron off. I'm not sure if they're going to want to do it just yet. It looks like they will not make the call to do it. Trying to take the safer route here. Not willing to risk going for that Baron, despite the fact it was 5v3. Spencerian was alive.
Smoothie is on point this game. From stopping the ultimate coming out from Liquorice in the bottom lane fight earlier, to now setting up the pick onto that enemy mid laner. The Brom play is there.
All right, here's another look at it. Niski on Zoe's going for these plays, but Smoothie slides right in, lands the Q for the slow, then follows up with the ultimate. Acadian and Sven both there in time to finish up the kill. And then they've got the stuns onto Liquorice as well to pick up number 2. By the way, with that mark he just got off of Liquorice, I believe, he picked up another one on the Scuttle. That is 4. You get the big range increase for Kindred. That's very nice to have.
Yeah, it's going to be critical for these team fights, and it is going to be a Blade of the Rune King coming out next for Acadian, and lifesteal being built up here for Sven. The need for that healing debuff, I think, is becoming bigger and bigger.
And as we're talking about TSM hitting these important points in terms of Acadian getting his stacks, I also want to point out Liquorice is now level 13. It's time for the Ornn items to start coming in. You can already see upgraded Abyssal Mask and Iceborne Gauntlet in inventory for him. We'll see him upgrade the allies' items as time goes on. Remember, you get 1 upgrade per level from here on out.
Plus, another big item completion, we saw the bubble there around Niski, has a Banshee's Veil to try and protect him when he goes in for possible pokes, possible 100% burst here. Both these teams so closely matched right now, really fighting over this mid lane area leading into the Baron.
You couldn't ask for more from Game 5 between TSM and Cloud9. It's 100 gold apart, not even. 25 minutes into the game, the first Infernal Drake will be spawning in 20 seconds. Surely neither side wants to give that up. But the thing you've also got to consider, Baron is on the table.
Yeah, it is on the table here, and TSM is reestablishing vision control in that river. They have gotten the mid lane priority, and as such, can make these moves.
But here comes Zeyzal. He's going to be starting things off as the Orange Horn is sounded and Smoothie's going to be taken down. Bjergsen on the run now as Lamb's Respite will keep Acadian and Sven alive, but only for a moment. Sven has that ultimate on him from the Zillion. Likely going to be taken down next. Niski over the wall with the damage as Broken Blade tries to find anyone to apply his Vladimir DPS to. Instead, it's going to be Sneaky. These pizzas are hot and ready, and Broken Blade is taken down.
Look at the scramble in this fight. It all starts there with Zeyzal pulling the trigger on Alistar, goes for the hard engage, and Cloud9 pick up 2.
And critically, Smoothie used the Unbreakable. He used the stand behind me there to actually try to stop that initial engage. But then Ornn follow-up was there. They get the Infernal, and Sigi had just bought. He had the X-Sutures, he had the BF sword, which allowed them to cut through so much of this healing and take them down. And now track Smoothie here. He uses his shield right now, trying to block the damage coming in from Sneaky, but then Liquorice can get a 3-man ult.
Yeah, Ornn ultimate does come through. Rolls over Bjergsen, stunning him. So Smoothie goes down in the duration. Kindred ultimate wasn't quite close enough to get him, and it is Cloud9 kind of wreaking havoc. Broken Blade is the lone hope for TSM in this fight, the Vladimir, but C9, you can see them scattering around him. Everyone getting low, but not into kill threshold, and they're able to kite that one out. Sven on the outside trying to make something happen in the end with the Ezreal, isn't able to do it though. And then that guy on your screen, Zeyzal, did not hesitate.
And you can hear the crowd cheer as soon as they see him. They know what good Alistar initiations look like. The headbutt into the flash to make sure you catch everybody in that one. Spencerian now trying to steal away a red buff, and he gets it.
The discipline is incredibly crucial here in the 5-game series. Cloud9, everyone talking about how they lost momentum after the first 2 games, but having a critical play like that does so much to bolster confidence. TSM, meanwhile, back out on the warpath. They sent their Vladimir bottom to split push, so everyone else needs to play safe.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 want to force. They want to try to at least get the teleport out. We'll see if they can, though. As Sven took quite a bit of poke, they are going to start the Baron. They need at least to get the teleport here from Broken Blade. Then you can peel off, but I feel like it's got to be at least that.
Spencerian at about half HP. The poke from Sven could be very important here. Baron at 3/4 still. TSM knows they managed to get C9 away from this one. The teleport will not be expended by Broken Blade, who does manage to walk his way up here in time, but that means he's off the bottom lane. He's no longer split pushing, and Cloud9 accomplished their goal of getting him out of there.
And they are going to lose all those minions, though. That's the kind of downside of that. You can see Broken Blade is up 2 levels now. He's up 70 CS over Liquorice because Liquorice has to group, and Broken Blade is not being forced to utilize that TP, so he's going to have more free time to continue to extend that advantage, where Liquorice can't make any. He's never going to be able to solo kill the Vladimir. He's never going to be able to take those turrets against Vlad, so he has to group.
It's a big push and pull here. Sneaky trying to push on the top side for a similar clash there, but Bjergsen with the speed from Zillion gets there in time, finds the cannon minion wave, and it is another one pushed out.
Also worth noting, Sneaky, not only is he incredibly close to finishing his IE, he has so much gold in the bag, it's also going to be able to be potentially upgraded from Liquorice for even more value. Every one of those Ornn upgrades is worth about an extra 1,000 gold in stats. There are 3 of them out on the map for Cloud9 now, and that 4th will very likely be Sneaky's IE when it completes.
While there is a lot of emphasis in this game put on the life-saving abilities like Kindred Ultimate and Zillion Ultimate, Sivir with max items and crits across your whole team just get everyone low so that everyone is in danger, and that can be devastating. Sneaky definitely scaling quite well for C9 here.
But at the same time, let us remember what happened earlier. There was a full build Jinx, and TSM still managed to find themselves the fight. Cloud9 has been playing this game well so far, especially Niski on that Zoe being able to find some outplays. But we'll see. Can they scale up? Can they get Sneaky to this point where he just eviscerates everyone with the front line of the Ornn and the Rek'Sai and the Alistar in front of him?
It's also worth noting the support items that Zeyzal is going for. He's going for Righteous Glory. He's looking for Engage. It is not the Knight's Vow. It is not the Zeke, but he's going in now.
There he goes. He's going to be starting things off. Goes into the ultimate now. Immediately going to be taken down. TSM turned that one around right quick. Sneaky now in some danger, having to get himself away, but the Hemoblade will claim his life.
And just like that, TSM have control of Baron. They burned out Alistar through the ultimate and followed up with a critical kill onto Sneaky. That's got to be TSM starting it up.
Zeyzal giveth and Zeyzal taketh away. His previous engage was so big for them winning a fight, but now he goes in too far ahead of the rest of the team. They can't find the engage, and it means TSM will take Baron.
He's quite far ahead of the rest of the team, and it's only onto the Vladimir who is able to pull that engage very, very easily. Cloud9 getting over eager, and TSM punish.
Time is of the essence. TSM with Baron buff have another 15 seconds left on Sneaky. With no Sivir, C9's team composition just completely collapses. That is where all the big crits are going to be coming through. And TSM are able to take a turret before he responds.
TSM get themselves back. They know they've now got a shot to really put some damage into Cloud9, into their base, into their structures. They've got 4 turrets taken, which means 2 tier 2s still stand on this map, and Mountain Drake is alive at 5.
That play, exactly why we keep highlighting the execution here in the start of these fights. Look at it, Zeyzal goes in, the combo onto Vladimir does get fooled, and all this focus fire immediately onto Zeyzal, taken out immediately, with Cloud9 having everyone else still in mid lane.
Yeah, and credit to Purixon as well as Acadian for being able to flash that combo and being able to escape it. But Cloud9 get turned around so heavily. If that initial engage is not perfect, there's so much DPS coming out of this TSM team. They're able to shred through the Alistar ultimate like it's nothing.
Definitely can go both ways with these critical moments here. A couple of seconds mean everything. Right now, Broken Blade split pushing on the Vladimir for TSM in mid lane. Currently answered by Niski.
The name of the game if you're Cloud9 is defense, defense, defense. Baron up waves will be colliding with tier 2 now. Liquorice coming around down the lane, ready to go. And here comes Zeyzal in from behind, looking to start things off, but once again, it's too early. Zeyzal's taken down before the rest of the team can do anything, and TSM again enjoys a 5v4.
And they already have the Baron buff. They can just make a beeline towards mid lane here. They buff up the cannon wave, and they're going to pressure 2 turrets at once.
It's such a difficult position for Zeyzal to be in because you can't actually start the fight with the Orin. The ult will get blocked every time by the Brom. Someone needs to force something out. Someone needs to do something. The man that has to do it is Zeyzal. But there's so many ways for TSM to absorb these engages and turn the fights around. And with that Baron buff, C9 is just getting pulled apart.
Sneaky below half. Means it'll be hard to defend this one here. TSM continuing to push. Tier 3 turret under pressure, taken out now. Niski not finding anybody with the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Zeyzal's now back alive. Cloud9 could try to find themselves a fight. Inhibitors under pressure. Broken Blade continuing to push up here in the mid lane. Sneaky firing off the boomerang blades into bottom side, looking to buy some time, but TSM are doing a good job, forcing Cloud9 to bounce back and forth. They will defend neither inhibitor, and TSM has secured themselves one hell of a lead.
So much coming from that one team fight in the mid lane that gave them the Baron. Oh, Sleepy Trouble bubble does land.
Smoothie's right there, has the shield ready to go.
Yeah, not going to be able to get anything off of it. TSM now, full map control off of this. C9 does still have very strong wave clear with the Sivir. They will be able to clear out these minion waves, and one of the kind of advantages that you can get is all the extra farm and gold that will be funneled into the base, but TSM has a massive advantage in the ability to close out the game with one more team fight, and they have taken back-to-back team fights.
Worth noting as well, Liquorice did hit a new level. He upgraded the Black Cleaver of Spencerian instead of the Infinity Edge of Sneaky. I don't know if Sneaky had the Infinity Edge completed when that level was ticked, but Liquorice should now be able to upgrade that Infinity Edge as he just crested the 16 mark. See if he can get Sneaky that item here anytime soon, because Cloud9 will need everything they can get.
Yeah, it's just feeling more about the execution though than about the itemization at all, to be honest. You know, Sneaky is going to do a ton of DPS, and he does get that upgrade now, but the problem has been the engages have not been effective, and how do you actually get that fight against TSM? Who is the man to really start it off? You know, they talked about that a bit on the desk and the difficulties of actually engaging into this comp that has Brom when you're so reliant on Orin.
Well, we've seen Zeyzal do it once. We've seen him have the past 2 engages be botched. He has to make this engage work if they want to be able to use the Ornn to maximum effect. Problem is, 2 waves of super minions marching at your base means you've got a lot more to worry about than you otherwise would. TSM continuing to pressure now. Not so much worried about the 3rd inhibitor just yet. Broken Blade will bring the minion wave up to deal with that one, while the rest of TSM stays 4v5 in the enemy base.
We also have to keep our eyes on the Zoe. The Sleepy Trouble bubbles can draw out big cooldowns if they land. So So far, TSM avoiding them, and they're on the last inhibitor turret.
TSM want to take down this inhibitor. If you lose this one, things are dire for Cloud9. They're looking to go in right now. Sven's going to be in some trouble, nearly taken down. Gets the Zillion ultimate now immediately. Acadian's going to be taken very low. Broken Blade in the back. It's shut down over onto Acadian, and that's going to be the first one for the side of Cloud9. Sneaky's at 20% HP, but TSM loses the fight.
This series continues to deliver. Cloud9 now fight off TSM, even with the big advantage, but that is still 2 inhibitors destroyed and one of them very low.
Cloud9, hang on. It's Sneaky, of all people, that is essentially starting this fight off. Sneaky just says, all right, if you're not going to engage, I will. He runs up there, just starts going in, getting damage out, and is able to force out the Brom E. Then Zeyzal goes in for the engage on Sven. He's getting pushed out, and Spencerian is dueling Acadian on the side.
But look at that knockup, too. They still didn't get to reactivate the Ornn ultimate. Then sectioning everyone off. Sneaky still surviving there. That's Sivir putting out the damage, life stealing up, doing a lot for the team.
And you and I talk about this a lot, Isaac. You want to see a team do that on the 3rd inhibitor. Don't just give the damn thing away and then sit and watch the super minions flow into the base. Good shot calling there from Cloud9.
C9 now has to be so decisive, though. They have 2 open inhibs, which means you can't sit out on the map without losing these objectives. Elder and Baron are both up. They need to be decisive. Find a fight or take an objective immediately, or they will have to go back to their base and seed both.
Sven losing half his health there to a paddle star is going to be pretty important. Sven's trying to heal himself up on the blue buff. Elder Drake's going to be taken down, secured by the side of Cloud9, and TSM now have to second guess, taking some kind of a fight.
Here they go.
Liquorice looking to engage. Broken Blade in the back lines. Already going to be pulled up, already knocked up into the air, already going to be jumping around, already taken down. Niski gets the kill credit on that one. Spencerian comes back to life, but he'll surely be the sacrificial lamb. Acadian will buy a moment, but he's also going to keep Spencerian alive. It's 1-0 Cloud9, but TSM will even it up with Bjergsen.
Sneaky went back to base. He is healed. He's running out. TSM are trying to make a beeline for the Baron, and Spencerian died critically. Bjergsen finished him off.
But remember, there's no anti-deaths on the side of TSM right now. Lamb's Respite and the Zillion Ultimate both down. They can't go for the Baron.
Ooh, this series has some more juice left in it. C9, when their backs are pushed against the Nexus, they make some critical plays. TSM have stalled it out by killing off the jungler, and the Baron's still on the table. Super minions will make their way towards the Nexus turrets on the bottom side. If left unattended, those will destroy the base.
Remember, though, a minute and a half with this Elder Dragon buff for C9. They are so powerful during that window, so they're going to send Sneaky back. And as Spencerian comes up, you have to feel like they need to force around Baron.
Going in. They are going to force it down. Sneaky does have teleport for the Sivir. He can clear that wave. He has to get up there. TSM are going to get it.
Not happening. TSM says we know we have priority over this, and we will secure that Baron. Elder has 1 minute left on it. If you're TSM, you'd rather avoid a fight during that duration. And Cloud9 now have to dig in and get ready to defend. They have all 3 inhibitors, but all 3 are exposed.
Exactly. I mean, there's going to be 2+ minutes where TSM has the advantage with these buffs. Sneaky is already full build. He's going back to base. He doesn't have any lifesteal really in the build besides the Legend Bloodline, so if he gets chunked out, it is very, very devastating. We've seen Vladimir be able to push him out solo in those fights. But if you cannot do that to Sneaky, he's on 100% crit with the Essence Reaver IE, has all the Zeal items. He's going to put out a ton of damage.
Legends have been written about full item build Sivir holding off armies. And they're going to have to do it against the TSM army right now. Baron buff outside their door, waiting to get in.
You can see that gold graph. A moderate lead for a long time there for Cloud9. But then when TSM got ahead, they got really ahead. Broken Blade losing about half HP right there. Sneaky having to get himself back. Here comes the Ornhorn. Liquorice not able to deliver on that one. Zeyzal coming in from behind. Acadian's going to be taken low, nearly taken down. Spencerian the first death here of this fight. Zeyzal still looking at front line on this one. Broken Blade's able to find Hemo Plague onto 2. Sneaky's going to be very low, barely getting himself out alive. Liquorice is the next target. TSM 3 for 0. Make it 4. Niski stands alone, and TSM will stake the end of the game right now. Niski tries to fight, but 5 versus 1 is not good odds. It started rough. They made the reverse sweep happen, and TSM will earn their place in St. Louis.
They had 10 straight finals going into last year. Were not able to make it in 2018 and 2019, down 0-2 in the semifinal. Looked like history was repeating itself, but they claw it back. and are the first team to claim their place in the finals.
What a well-fought series from both teams. Cloud9 slugging it out early, but TSM with the comeback. Reverse sweep here from the TSM members who had such a strong end to the spring splits. Now heading to St. Louis with that ticket punched.
And this is what I think all the fans wanted to see from this series, the level of competition, I should say. Of course, Cloud9 fans didn't want to see this outcome, but at the same time, Cloud9 played those first 2 games so cleanly, and games 3 and 5 were so close between these squads as well. It was seriously a pleasure to watch, and TSM are going to look pretty beastly in St. Louis.
Yeah, such a high-level series between these two teams. Really very closely fought on both sides.
Now that the series is over, finally we see the emotion outpouring here. The entire game, all the player cameras, stone-faced, focused on their work.
It's like you can finally breathe again. The pressure is off. TSM, they found their win, going to compete for the finals. You mentioned how this was a team that finals was not a goal. When we heard from Sneaky earlier on in the series, he says, oh yeah, it's pretty expected that everybody wants to win, everybody wants to be first. Well, for TSM, it was never so much of a goal as an expectation. Remember, this is the org that has the most wins in LCS history. This is the org that was always at the top. Last year, the boat got rocked. That sucker sprung a couple holes. And now they look to be back in form, and they're competing for the title.
They certainly are. And